Hello everyone, hope we're all good. Thanks again for all your support. Thanks for all the feedback. And thanks for everyone who likes, shares, comments and subscribes. So we've established that, both, uploads and podcasts are what people want. So that's what we'll do going forward. Much appreciated. Let's talk about the old school gangsters versus the rats of today. Now, the feedback was quite positive. And there was one comment which was quite long from someone who said, look, Bill, here's a challenge for you. Why don't you out these old school so-called gangsters? Because some of them were our asses back in the day. But that's what I'm about. I'm not about outing people. There's people on these platforms that get paid to sweep grass or blow other people up, and call other people out. I'm not about that. Right, I'm only here to talk about my experiences, what I was subjected to. I'm not here to talk about other people's experiences, other people's feelings and what they were subjected to, unless I was a part of it or I've got some affiliation with it. Now, what's a grass? An informer? Let's go down that road. To me, right, I grew up, never heard the word grass until I went to prison. Goes to jail, and you hear people screaming out the window, blah, blah, John Smith, you're a grass. You're getting smashed in the morning. Right, so I knew if you were a grass, you were getting battered. And you heard that shout, snitches get stitches, and snitches end up in ditches, and grasses and snakes and lizards. Now, to define a grass was someone who was standing in the dock, pointing a finger, accusingly at a co-defendant who they'd been grafting with, just to save their skin, to reduce their sentence. Now, there's loads of that happening. That's what people do. They get nicked, their asses fall out of them, they're in the plot shop, they go to the interview, their hands are up. It wasn't me, it was him. Right, this is what happens with these young kids today. They get nicked, look, and they spill the beans, they're spilling the guts. It's all in the depositions, they go to court. There you are, there he is. Whether they go to jail or not, they end up getting slashed. That's how it is. People find out. I've seen it recently when I was young boy. There was a kid, he was on numbers. He was nicked with a mate of mine. He was on remand, a drugs charge. He'd blew him up. He'd found out about it. He hit the numbers, which is protection. And just lived a shallow life, hiding, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to be in that way of life. Now, if you're in that way of life, the criminal underground, and you're pointing a finger and you're getting called a grass, then that's what happens, isn't it? Then you've got your whistleblowers in workplaces and, schools. Now, you can understand when someone's getting bullied in school. You're not going to keep it to yourself. You need to share it with someone. You need to go and tell, someone you can trust, because you can have an impact on your mental well-being going forward in life. You can have a massive impact. So that is not grassing. So when someone says, look, youth soul will teach you about such and such, you're a grass. Well, you're not. You're there. You're not standing in the dock, pointing a finger, sending someone to prison. You're looking after your well-being. You're looking after your mental health. Now, for me, I remember going to getting into recovery years ago, and someone said to me, Bill, you need to get yourself a sponsor, get to meetings, share honestly, talk to someone, because that's the solution, that's the answer to all your problems. I was going, okay, so I've got to find someone, I've got to trust someone with all this information, all this gear that's going on inside me. And I found this this guy from Glasgow, and I liked him, and I asked him to be my sponsor. Now a sponsor is someone you can confide in, someone who's not going to share your stuff with anyone. You know, he's been around for a few years, he's established in recovery. So I found this guy from Scotland. He lived in Bristol, and he said to me, he said, "Yeah, right, how you doing?" I said, "I'm sad." He said, "Can you tell me your assets?" I said, "Me assets? What do you mean?" He said, "Tell me what's good about yourself." The first thing that I said, "The only assets I've got is that I'm not a grass." That was the only assets I had, that I wasn't a grass. He went, "What? You're not a grass?" He said, "You've got something more about you." I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "Look, you know, you're willing, you're honest, you know, you're thoughtful, you're kind, you're generous." What the fuck's he after, this fella here? Because all I knew was, you know, anyone saying them kind of things to me made me feel really uncomfortable, because all I'd ever been called was a smackhead, a crackhead, a junkie, you know, a robbing bastard, you know, a nightmare, a psycho, a nutter. Never anything positive. It was all like negative feedback. So when someone says you're nice, you're kind, you're generous, I found it quite awkward and uncomfortable to accept that affirmation, because he had no self-esteem. And when you've got no self-esteem and someone's saying good things about you, it's cringe. You know, so my only asset was I'm not a grass. Yeah, because he had that street mentality, and I was proud of the fact that even when the busies have nicked me and have twisted me up, because I remember getting twisted up and I've had guns put in my mouth by the police, and this is no lie, right? You know, the CID, the OST back in the day, the Operation Support Division, they were horrible, right? And I'd been hijacked, kidnapped, put in the back of this car. I've had these two jacks in the back twisting me up, and they've got me and they're screaming at me, where are the drugs? Who's dropping this? You know, who's grafting me? Look, I'm just an addict, mate. The only person I know is me drug dealer. I don't know who's robbing this or who's selling that. You know, you probably know more than me. So I just kept my mouth shut, and because, you know, if they found out and someone found out that I'd said something, then that was it, I was finished. And there was one thing I wouldn't, I was give in. I wouldn't give in. Right, that was it. No retreat, no surrender. Don't tell them nothing. It was us against them. The busies and us, and, you know, you go to jail and you're speaking in tongues, aren't you, when you're in jail? In back slang, out the window. Nabs dabs. What's happening there, lad? Sabby nabo. Babsilly, have you got anything there? That was how it was, and we used to think that all the screws were, especially in Walton, weren't on it. You know, and sometimes they dance you out the window back in back slang, and you'd think you'd be talking to one of the lads, and it'd be one of the screws with the prison shirts on going, "Yeah, bet, where are you, labad? I'll go and get that little ping of you, labad." And they'd be at your door. And there were screws like that, proper moody. So yeah, it was all about, that was that way of life, the grass and, you know, culture in prison. You know, it was a no-no. So going forward, you know, get a job in you know, the workplace. You know, and if your work wasn't up to performance, someone would be like, you know, telling the manager that you weren't performing well. So to me, you're grass. I'm like, fucking grass. That was me attitude, grass. Someone said, "No, Billy's not a grass. He's just like looking out for your best interest." You know, I said, "Well, what's you call him then? An informer?" He said, "No, look, he's not. It's not us against them. He's trying to help you. You know, so you need kind of like addressing in some areas. You know, you've got some flaws, and we'll work on that." So yeah, you know, I took that like prison attitude into the community once I got out of the shovel, which was difficult. It was that street mentality. It took a long time to shed all that old stuff. And I remember the sponsor saying to me, "Bill, you only need to change one thing, you know, lad." I went, "Yeah, sure, that's only one thing." wow, that's cool, isn't it? All you need is to change one thing. I said, what's that? He said, everything. I said, okay. So yeah, I had to strip myself down and build myself up, you know. And I remember going, you know, through recovery, and I've had a few relapses because my journey wasn't straight, it was zigzagging. And I ended up in a detox in Liverpool. And I spoke to the lad the other day, because he goes to meetings now, and I said to him about this experience we had about, you know, that grassing culture. You know, he'd never been in recovery, he'd never had this experience, and he's in this detox, and they're all smuggling, you know, drugs in and ale in and swapping tablets, and I'm like sitting there thinking, I'm on my arse here, mate. I've had enough. I've come in on driftwood. I need help. This is a detox, not a retox. You know, I'm not here to take more and go out the door with a bigger problem. You know, so I felt really vulnerable when people were passing drugs and whispering out the side of their mouth, and all that codependency was going on the couch with all these newcomers turning up and everyone's in love, and I was like, fucking hell, you know, you all found love in a rehab and all that, yeah. Where'd you meet your girlfriend, Bill? Oh, found her in the medication line. Her name's Samantha. She used to be Miss Methadone, 2006. Yeah, I met me bears in the medication line. So, this kid, and he's talking, he's getting things and the passion that, and, you know, I'm getting like, I still want this. No, I don't. Fuck with your fucking your drugs, lad. You know, I'm feeling quite vulnerable. I'm rattling here. It's fucking hard work, and you're bringing swagging. Stop it. Hey, what are you doing? Shut up, will you? You glass. I'm sure, mate. What did you call me? Any casies, and you know, I felt bad because he'd said that to me, and I spoke to someone about it. And, you know, one of the recovery workers who used to volunteer there, Kevin, and he went, look, Bill, it's about shaving, you know, your ass, not your face. You know, this is, you know, a safe environment. This is a place where people come to get better. It's not a place where you're smuggling drugs in. It's not a jail. So, like, don't second guess what you've said. Don't beat yourself up. You know, you've reacted because you felt quite vulnerable. And I felt a little bit better about myself. And I shared that with this guy the other day, and he said, yeah, you know what, Bill, he said, I had that attitude myself when I first came in because I'd never had no experience, and he understand. And, you know, it's good that we can get to that place in life, you know what I mean? And then you got your straight goers, haven't you? You know, people who just go through life, wouldn't know what a grass was, wouldn't know what whistleblowing was. They just crack on with the day. You know, and for that person who's asked me to come out and, you know, out all these old school gangsters, it's not my cup of tea, mate. You know, there's people on these platforms that can do that for you. There's people that get paid to do that. You know, I'm here for, you know, to share a few lived experiences, a few stories. I'm not here for a fight with anyone, you know, or a straightener. Too old for all that. You know, someone said to me, Bill, you need to look in the camera. I'm thinking, come on, mate. I can't even look in the mirror sometimes, but yeah, there you go, lad, in the camera. For you. He was alright, I replied. It's still a work in progress. But yeah, once again, thanks for all your support. I really mean it. I love all the comments. If I can answer you, I will. And if there's anyone struggling, the answer is just pick up the phone, reach out, ask for help. That's saying, and it's a problem shared is a problem halved. And it's so true. I remember when I went to a meeting and they give out this green pamphlet with the newcomers, you know, numbers on it, so they give you a load of phone numbers. I never got phone numbers for about 3 months. I was resenting everyone. I don't blame them, to be honest, because it was a nightmare. I was dead volatile. It took a while for me to get a few phone numbers, but when I did get them phone numbers, I tell you what I did do. I rang every single one of them, but I sent them a message. You know, and I get people in meetings now who, you know, I give me number 2 and you never get a call. I think it's the fear of ringing someone because you don't know how they're going to respond. It's that rejection. And I'll talk about rejection in another video. But For now, thanks for watching. Take care.